one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. So, administrator's report.
Sure. I just have a brief report tonight. I wanted to let you guys know that our treasurer collector, Diane Doyle, has received her certification. She was successfully completed all of the coursework and passed the test. So now your entire finance department is all certified in the various trades under the state of Massachusetts. So congratulations, great group of people there. Also, I was hoping the board would consider taking a vote this evening to authorize the vice chairman to sign off on the payrolls and all of the expenditures. Chairman wants to ask.
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
And we also have the capital improvement plan and the financial management policies before the board for the last couple of weeks to look at, so I didn't know if you wanted to adopt the policies.
I've had a chance to review. Is there a motion on adoption of the financial management policy?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and also we need, is there a motion to adopt the capital improvement plan?
Motion.
Second.
Discussion.
This capital improvement plan, is this the same one that was put before us earlier in the year?
A draft. You saw a draft.
Yeah, you saw the
This
draft.
is the final.
It hasn't changed, right?
There were a few updates, a couple of corrections. The years were changed in a few areas. It will be a fluid document. You'll see it updated every year as projects are completed and new ones come on board.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, that leaves us with the award of the police and fire sewer service connection.
Motion to award.
As the procurement officer, I recommended to you, well, I reported to you that I was not comfortable executing that. So I would prefer the board consider it and decide whether or not you wanted to go with the lowest bidder or if you wanted to accept the bid of the second low bidder.
We ought to make some kind of a motion in a second so we can discuss it.
Motion to accept the low bid.
Okay, I will second it for discussion.
Okay, discussion.
Town administrator is not happy with the low bidder on this. The reason we're in the position we're in right now is because of Tracy Blaze. I really think we should listen to him.
Okay. Whereas the matter was resolved, I don't want to be punitive about the decision. You know, I believe in redemption and moving on, I guess is the way I feel about it.
I do too, actually. But the only thing that stuck out to me is that the second lowest bidder has done this work in the past, and they came in early, wasn't it, significantly under budget. And we have a history with them, and I'm more comfortable going with the second lowest bidder myself.
Okay.
I concur.
All right, so for the sake of clearing the table, all those in favor of going with the low bidder as listed? Aye. Opposed? Okay, do we have a new motion?
Yeah, motion to approve second lowest.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, opposed? No.
And second work for time.
You need 33.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess we does. He'll be happy to be a tiebreaker. All right.
Yeah, he's on his way.
Okay, well, we're waiting for Selectman Jesperson's to arrive. Citizens' concerns.
I went to see the chief, because it took me a half hour to go down Scotland Road Sunday. He was nice enough to talk to me, said we're doing the best we can. Well, you know, that's not good enough. So then I went home, saw a motorcycle cop coming up the street, directing traffic. Deputy Chief Lucy, I guess his name is, flagged him down. And I talked to him about it. And you know what he said when I said my husband almost got sideswiped? A car was barreling down the breakdown lane coming from 95. He said, oh, well. And I said, but that's not even legal. He says, oh, yes, it is, because we put cones out that said this and this and this. And I said, they weren't out there Saturday.
Okay. Do you have any more to add?
No, no.
Okay. Anyone else?
Anything to say,
Do you have a
dear?
response from them?
Mike, would you like to respond, or you don't?
Oh,
have
he's
to?
talked to me. He's talked to me.
It's just at the last selectmen's meeting, I outlined what happened the previous weekend when the road was just overwhelmed with people coming to the farm. That caught us completely by surprise. We took measures, what we thought were appropriate measures to alleviate that because we expected it for the next upcoming weekend. We set up a middle lane with cones, just for farm traffic only, and tried to stack the traffic coming into the farm and open the breakdown lane for through traffic. And we brought that middle lane out to almost Scotland Heights, right around the corner before that, and we thought that would be plenty. Well, this past weekend, more people showed up. I think the weekend prior, maybe pushed through 1,500 cars, and it was backed up because we didn't have those 2 lanes and people didn't know. They were waiting in line. Half of them were going to the farm, half of them wanted to go through until we got that separated out and had people going. As the traffic backed up on Saturday and Sunday, we extended that middle lane further and further back, almost to Salters. I think maybe a little past Salters. We just didn't have enough cones to actually do the whole thing, but we tried to stack them as best we could. And once people understood that, it opened up pretty smoothly. I timed it. I was there all day Sunday and most of the morning Saturday, and we timed it from 95. I went through there 50 times that day. From getting off 95, once we had the distinct lanes set, 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes. It was a smooth sail right to the Newburyport line. And the same thing happened on the Newburyport end, coming from Newburyport to the farm. It backed up, and we tried to set up that middle lane for through traffic and the right lane for the farm traffic to turn into the farm. Except for once, we were very diligent about the no parking on the side of the road, but once you hit that Newburyport line, they parked everywhere and people were just walking down the breakdown lane, so we couldn't use that right-hand side in the breakdown lane for the farm traffic. It was very difficult, so that clogged things up a little bit. I had a very productive meeting with Mr. Colby this morning, and we're expecting similar things for next year. With other farms doing this type of thing, maybe the traffic won't be as much, but we're planning on it being just as bad or worse, and we're planning on other remedies to alleviate that traffic. For the 2 weekends, the residents of Scotland Road, if it's that bad, the residents of Scotland Road and Scotland Heights, they're going to be inconvenienced because it's really difficult. You can't, coming down Scotland Road, you can't take a left into your driveway or up Scotland Heights because traffic is just stacked. So you've got to go a long way around and come eastbound from the 95 end to take a right into your driveway, and leaving your driveway or Scotland Heights, you can't take a left. It's impossible. You're going to get killed. So you have to be real careful because cars are coming down the breakdown lane. There's nothing we can do about it, and you have to be careful and take that right. For the Saturday and Sunday during daylight hours on those 2, there's nothing else I can do about that. We're doing the best we can. Next year we'll have a code red and an emergency notification out to the road, which I talked about doing during the week, and I completely forgot. We just got overwhelmed, and I apologize to the residents of Scotland Road and Scotland Heights about that. But it'll be well publicized, the traffic plan, so residents can prepare for it. And
What's the code red 90?
it's like a reverse 911. Yeah. So we'll do that. We'll put it on a Facebook page. We'll put it on the police department website. The town will have it on their website. We'll have a distinct plan as to traffic. Like I said, we have no idea what the volume of cars is. This past weekend, I think Saturday they probably pushed through over 2,000 cars, and Sunday was worse, probably 3,000 cars, even more. We didn't have one fender bender, couple near ones.
Yeah, two
We
meters.
didn't have one fender bender, we didn't have
It's really not funny.
one medical issue when we got stung by a bee and had an allergic reaction. That was the only fire service that was called. And, you know, aside from clogging up traffic and sitting in traffic for an hour, the Sunflower people were very nice people. I don't know what else to say. But we did the best we could with the limited resources we have. We know what to expect for next year. We'll be better prepared for it. We're going to prepare for the worst case scenario and go from there. So I'm happy. We treated the farm just like any other business in town. The farm was paid for detail officers at weekend rate, 3 detail officers to control traffic at the entrance, at the exit, and then we had one at Highfield Road because we couldn't let traffic turn left from Highfield Road. They had to take a right-hand turn. It was just too dangerous. So there were 3 detail officers there. The farm, I drove up through the parking lot quite a bit. They had ample help inside, directing people to where to park. That worked out well, and we've discussed measures to expedite maybe 2 lanes of traffic going into the farm, into the parking lot during those busy times to help alleviate the stack up on both sides of the road. So there are things that the farm is going to do for next year. There are things that the police department will do differently for next year. The only thing I can say to the residents of Scotland Road, 2 weekends for those 4 days, it's going to be difficult. You're going to have to take the long way around. I don't know what else to do. I can't stop people from coming.
Wait, you got to be acknowledged, Dale, you also have to be acknowledged. Dale, come on.
One question of the chief is,
Yeah.
would it be possible to work with the state to put electronic signage on 95?
That's one of the,
Saying access to Newburyport, exit 57 only?
yeah,
or
that's
something?
one of the things we're going to do. We're going to try to, we have a signboard that is shorted out on us. We were going to do that at right when cars got off 95, our signboard shorted out. It's under warranty, so we'll get it fixed. But we'll work with the state. We'll also work with Newburyport Police and their emergency management so they can put signage down that end too. Because a lot of people with a GPS, they're plugged in and said avoid traffic, and it was sending them through Graff Road and out Parker Street and coming in the other way, and that stacked up real quickly. So yeah, we have it in place. We'll try to work with the state, Newburyport Police, and our own.
That's a good idea.
And just to get the signage for people that aren't going to the farm for those days, avoid Scotland Road. Just stay away. It's a lot easier.
It's funny, the flowers took on their own life through social media. I'm not on social media. Our business is, Liz runs it, but we've been doing it for 14 years. We didn't anticipate all those visitors at once, and I'm proud of the Newbury Police for responding the way they did, and I'm proud of my people for operating at a high level to accommodate all those guests and not have any incidents. I mean, I was impressed with the police and my people, and what can I say? It's social media. It's become very popular. People see beauty in the sunflowers, and they see beauty in this town, and I think it's a great thing. I really do, and I'm appreciative for everyone that came, and for the small inconveniences to some of the residents on Scotland Road. I'm sorry about that, but the farm operates within the bylaws. We're paying for detail cops. Agritourism is in our town bylaws.
Is it 2
Yeah,
more weekends
yes, Jen.
left? 2 more, how much?
No, they're done.
They're done.
Yeah.
They'll keep coming.
They look sad at this point. We'll have stragglers keep coming to have a peek.
You could put fake ones out there, JR. They'd come.
I don't know about that.
So to mirror what JR says, I think the Newbury Police have done a heck of a job. They responded almost immediately. They were left with this huge problem. Who knew this was going to be such a wonderful success? I went down there early Sunday morning on the way to the airport and just took a drive through. I saw the way the lanes were set up. I said, this is absolutely wonderful. This is going to be I flew over a little later on. Oh my goodness gracious, I couldn't believe the cars were almost back to, well, your driveway.
They were back to 95
Yeah,
after that.
and I said, okay, so this is a whole learning curve for us here. We need to support our businesses and support our residents at the same time. And I think the new PD
First
is
weekend
doing
caught us
a
off
heck of
guard.
a good job at that. And as I said, we learn as we go, so.
Appreciate it.
Right, we've been in contact on how to make things better next year. It was, definitely took everyone by surprise.
First weekend was difficult, caught us by surprise. We thought we were more prepared for weekend number 2, but more people showed up. And, you know, that overwhelmed us for a short time until we could get the distinct lanes set up, and then the through traffic opened up pretty well. And the people that were sitting in, I pulled up to 50 people during the course of the day saying, you know, you had at least an hour wait sitting here. And we don't care. We'll wait.
So I had a whole bunch of calls on my phone, and the majority of people that called me were upset because of the traffic that was there. I said something about this to a few of the Plum Island residents, and they went, come on down Plum Island in the summer, see what it's like down there. And I went, holy mackerel, you're right, you know, so
Yeah, but
we
one
have
has
different.
nothing to do with the other.
Yeah, so, as I say, I thank you ever so much for everything you've done and your whole department has done.
As far as it goes for next year, I think we'll be much better prepared to handle the volume, but it's still going to be inconvenient. There's nothing, if that volume of people shows up, the road's just not built for that.
Okay, but just one comment.
Yeah, absolutely.
When Deputy Lucy, I flagged him down, he was on his motorcycle Sunday afternoon. And was talking to him, I talked to the chief in the morning. And I said to him about how my husband, somebody had come barreling down from Byfield direction in the breakdown lane and almost sideswiped my husband turning into the road. And he as much as said, oh well. Well, there is no oh well. Granted, my husband was on the driver's side, so this would have been the passenger side. But there is no oh well. I was very disappointed in what he said, because there is more to it. My husband thought of calling the police when he almost got hit, and then he said, what good is it going to do? They're not going to do anything. The sunflowers are blooming.
I would have to say, you know,
Dale.
the chief may want to correct me, because my wife got sideswiped with somebody coming down a breakdown lane as she cut into a bank. It was his fault. So I think you would find, because I'm traveling down the breakdown lane to get in and out of Scotland Heights, if somebody cuts across, or even cuts me off the road, it's going to be my fault, because I'm traveling in a breakdown lane. You follow my?
Right, I know what you're saying. If it's the police, just like a construction site out on the highway,
Right.
when they close 2 lanes and the use of the breakdown lanes permitted, if the police authorize that, then that's a legitimate travel lane.
Okay, well, I was cautious. I told my wife, I'll go down here, but I'm gonna go about 5 miles an hour.
Yeah, and that's, most of the
And
people did.
Believe it or not, right before I pulled over, that guy was going 30.
Yeah, most of the
Down
people
the
did,
breakdown.
and, you know,
So it only takes, and I saw another guy try to cut him off because he thought he was trying to get to the front of the line.
well, what ends up happening is you have the people that have been stacked up and they're waiting for 45 minutes, and all of a sudden they're like, yeah, I'm done, and all of a sudden they cut out without looking.
So it's a risk.
Oh, it absolutely is, and it's just one of the hazards of trying to manage that volume of traffic on that roadway that's not designed to handle that volume of traffic.
Right.
So, but we will do the best we can. We'll have even better plans in place for next year, and you know, hopefully things will go much smoother. Like I said, can do nothing but apologize for any inconvenience to any of the residents.
The power of natural beauty is amazing. That's all I can say. It's popular.
Thank you.
Are there any more
Thank you.
concerns?
Do a meeting,
Do we have,
meeting minutes.
yeah, no board or committee
Well,
reports?
I guess I can talk about the media committee is meeting tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock. And we're going to, talk, I'm gonna talk about, the cable contract before the town of Newbury right now. They were hoping to ask the Board of Selectmen for a, early action on it, because that it could possibly be favorable to the town, but I'm not quite sure if it's something like that anymore. So, I'll know more tomorrow. We have a meeting at 11 o'clock here.
Okay.
I don't think you really need to.
It's
If
raining.
you want, it's right. The rec committee met last week. Putting together a budget, or a spending plan, I should say. They have a lot of great ideas on what they want to do. Nothing's been voted on yet. The district communication subcommittee at Triton has set dates. I'll probably go to those too. I don't know quite when. I think the first one's October 5th. I'll start going to that. What else? What are you guys been up to?
Nothing.
Highway crew's been doing a heck of a job again. They have 4 more storm drains to hook in, and Main Street will be all done. And they'll work their way up Central Street. Weather permitting, they'll be done this year with it, so kudos to them again. Great job, these guys.
Now, are they're supposed to be completing the whole town by the end of next year, right? Is that the plan?
Are you talking about the major
Repaving.
roadways?
Repaving all the roadways.
2 more seasons.
Yeah.
2 more seasons to go. Wow.
And just a reminder that we're going to have the selectmen's meeting on October 3rd to execute the warrants for town meeting.
So we will be having one on the 10th, or no?
Yeah, I think there's one on the 10th.
You said the 3rd, correct?
I don't know if you set a time. If you then, you want to do it every all the time.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Motion to, is there a motion?
Yeah, motion to set it 7 o'clock, October 3rd.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Mention that.
Yeah, can we?
Sure.
All
You
right.
think even though without Damon here?
David has
He is.
But the applicant's not there either.
Oh,
Yes, they're downstairs.
They're in the hall.
okay.
Can I just ask a procedural question? I realize Chairman Walker had to recuse himself from the public hearing, and I understand that.
If we're going to talk about the public hearing, we need to do it during the public hearing, I think, to be proper.
Well, it's not about the subject matter. It's about when someone recuses themselves, are they allowed to sit in and listen to the discussion even though they can't contribute and they can't vote? I would think it could be beneficial, even if they're not a decision maker in that they should be able to, or is that not allowed by law?
It's not allowed.
No, okay.
I move to open the
Sorry?
public hearing.
Second? Okay, I'm going to call the public hearing to open. We're going to reopen the special permit application for Eric Sorensen, Newbury Golf Center with associated amenities, 131, 133, and 151 Scotland Road. So, go ahead.
And I will reopen the site plan review hearing for the same project for the planning board review. Guys all right over there?
You guys all right, or do you want to come over? Good. Sure? Okay. Good evening, gentlemen. All right. Do you have anything new to share with us?
For the record, Rick Waite from Meridian Principal. With me tonight, applicant Eric Sorensen. Mike Berry from Musco Sports Lighting, and sitting in for Mike Rosen tonight is Adam Barowski. There really isn't anything to report. We've staked out the center line of that roadway for the first few hundred feet. There's been some correspondence on the lighting. We're here for questions.
Okay. Any questions from the Board of Selectmen at this time?
I have not had an opportunity to go by and see the new state driveway. When did it get staked?
Friday,
On Friday. Okay.
or Thursday afternoon.
All right, I'm sorry, I have not, have you had a chance to go by?
Well, I drove by today, and I didn't see it, but I didn't get out of my car, so just direct me to the...
If you are parked in a driveway,
Yeah.
existing driveway, walking towards 95, I'm gonna guess it's 200 to 300 yards, but you come across a cone,
Oh, I saw the cone.
it's another 100 yards towards 95. The first stake is right on the edge of the woodland line.
Is it a white stake?
It's a white stake with orange flagging, and if you look up the hill, you'll see another.
I saw that,
stakes with
but I
orange
didn't see
flagging.
the others. I did see that.
That's the first stake is right on the edge of the wood.
Thanks.
Okay.
Put everything up ready. I think that's a good spot for the driveway. It's quite a ways away from our homes. I think where they dig into the hill, it's going to take care of a lot of the traffic lighting because there's going to be some high walls there. I think it addresses a lot of the issues.
So should I ask one further?
Sure.
So do any board members have questions on the lighting information so far that you've seen? Or anything else that piques your interest? No?
You asked that question?
Yeah.
Okay, stormwater issue on the road cuts. Do we have any report on that? Any change or any requirements to go forward with the Conservation Commission for new hearing?
I'll address it. We sat down with Doug Packard last week. Doug stated that he understands the process and what we're proposing to do. He gave us two options: to either amend the current submission or to withdraw, not to withdraw, to file a brand new submission. Really doesn't make a difference to us which way we go. Might be cleaner to just submit a new one. We do have to go back in front of conservation for a new filing, whether it's an amendment or a full new filing. It's an entirely different set of circumstances dealing with the drainage situation than there is with the current one, but it's something that we're ready to tackle.
Are there catch basins down that way that would take care of some of the water?
There are catch basins
Yeah.
every few hundred feet along
Okay.
Scotland Road, so, but we wouldn't be tying into them directly for our drainage. We've got to mitigate on site. There might be an overflow tie-in, but again, we'll be meeting pre and post for existing and proposed, so I really don't see the catch basins coming into play, but there are sets of catch basins every couple hundred feet.
Thank you.
So we got your report, I guess, yesterday, and it was forwarded to the consultant. He has not gotten back to us yet. But I did have a couple of questions on a combination of his comments and your comments back to him.
Sure.
And I guess the thing that did strike me in, I guess it's your answer to their question number 7 on the shoebox fixture, et cetera, that your comment is that these poles are soft, square poles, giving that industrial look. And I think that really is maybe at the heart of maybe the issues that we're having, because no matter what, this is a residential agricultural district, and the use that you're putting in here is obviously not that, but it requires a special permit. And it seems that rather than putting in, because we're going to focus on the lighting for a second, okay? Putting in these kind of things that are industrial looking, that the neighborhood is not an industrial neighborhood. It's not a commercial neighborhood. It's a residential neighborhood. And so the columns, the stanchions, the lighting heads, etc., ought to be more in context of the residents that are adjacent to it and are all in the area, as opposed to putting something in there that's an industrial acre. And I think that now, as we're moving forward and trying to get this thing done, and we are, the extent to which you can respond to the recommendations that the consultant has made along those lines, and I just want to kind of go over some of the ones that he did put forward. One was color temperature, and that the specs call for very clearly cold blue temperatures. We all know what that is, right? It's not this color in here. It's that cold blue LED light that you see in certain areas. It's not the light that's outside. It's a very different kind of cold light. And the comment here is that that's so out of keeping with the residential lights that people have, that if you could look at that and respond, even though what you're saying here is that it brings, you would have to have maybe more stanchions or more lights, and I understand that. But what I'm trying to get at is that goes a long way, I think, to making people feel, well, me, not, I don't know if everybody else does, but make me feel a little better if you have something there that's a little more residential in color. The fact that they have, he has recommended that the poles and the stanchions and the heads be painted a flat black so that in the daytime they're not a metallic color that you can see, and they stick out, and it recedes within the environment. And you've indicated that was something that could be done. I think that's a really positive thing. The dimming is an idea that I'm sure that is just a matter of cost, but it seems that if a lot of people aren't using the facility, or no one is using it, that if the lights could just be dimmed automatically instead of being bright as they always are, that would really go a long way to reducing this whole issue about whether or not it's an objectionable thing. And so I think that the extent to which you can address these things in either now, or have you spoken with our consultant, or you're not going to do that, or Eric, have you spoken?
I haven't spoken to them, no.
So we know he just got it today, right?
Yesterday.
Yesterday. I mean, the extent to which you can have a discussion, I think, would be fruitful. We think he's come up with some pretty good ideas. We think that they could make things better. And the extent to which you could agree to them, then maybe lets us move forward. I'm just thinking that the idea here is if the lighting, both in the driving range and in the driveway getting up to the parking lot, if the driving range is never going to be residential, but it's going to be tamped down, but if the lights going up can look like it's a driveway going to a house, so you know what I'm getting at, okay? So those are my thoughts on the lighting, and the extent to which if we can get this resolved, then I think we indicated last week that then you would then move forward with a redesign of the roadway, right? But you're not going to do that until such time as we have some agreement on the lighting, right?
Yeah,
Eric?
we need some
Right.
kind of conditional approval from you
Right.
to go forward.
Right,
I think
okay.
We're at that point.
So it's unfortunate that Lucas didn't get this stuff in time, or just didn't get it. I mean, he just got it today, and he hasn't been able to turn it back to us. But the extent that you can start to chew on that stuff, I think, would be very helpful.
Speaking of conditional things, one of the things I've been wondering about is, especially around the lighting, is an annual review, because you've been pushing for later and later times, and we've been pushing for earlier and earlier times. And so one of the things that I was curious if you'd be comfortable with is, if this is approved, if it is reviewed annually, as far as what the times are, what the disturbances are, so that if it's approved, the neighbors can have input annually. The select board could review it and alter it based on feedback. Because you contend, and your lighting expert contends, that it very little spill, very little disturbance. The neighbors might have a very different experience. And so I was curious if in the order of conditions you'd be comfortable with returning, at least for a few years, annually to it. And I had the same thought about the escrow account. You'd mentioned putting in, I think, $5,000 for a few years. But I think having, we all know that trees fall down, things in the natural environment change pretty radically. And I think having the ability of the neighbors to petition at any point if there is such a catastrophic change, to have that redressed, not at I'll keep it for the first few years, but as a ongoing thing, not where they can just pull out of your bank account anytime they want, but where it is a mediated event. I wasn't sure if those...
I think, absolutely, the trees, I think I've made clear to be a good neighbor and, address those issues because it begins, and it's not something I'm going to forget, 2 years down the road, we pleased them at the beginning. No, it's, I want to have a good relationship with the neighbor. As far as concerns of the time the businesses can close, I think that needs to be a discussion because obviously a bank is backing this and all of a sudden, I don't want to get to the point where we say no lights or we agree on the lights, and it's a give and take. And obviously, I am absolutely, for discussing it and coming back in front of you guys and saying, if there is an issue, and hopefully it doesn't get to that point where the neighbors say, hey, if there's an issue, let's address it. And we're using Musco, which is the #1, sports lighting company in the country. They're top 5 in the world. This is what they do. So, they deal with these issues that we're dealing with all the time. That where we can address that, and if we need to, move a light or address it, we can. But going back to that, yeah, I would, I'd be open to something like that. To talk to you.
That'd be good. Mr. Vice Chairman, may I?
Yes.
Okay. I'm a little against what you're going on here, Damon, for the lighting. For the simple reason you go across the street into that bus company, you take a look at those lights that are running all night long. 2 of them are faced out towards the road. They're so bright that when you drive by and look in, it blinds you. We're letting them run them all night. We're giving poor Eric fits about a dim light. I'm a little confused here, the message that we're sending up. I mean, I want to be drawing business into town, not driving it out. We're drowning him in regulations here. And I mean, I think we should be throwing him a life preserver, not more chains. So.
Can I respond to that? I think that we have to remember that the property across the street is not residential. That's the difference. That this side of the street, unfortunately, is a neighborhood. And the other side of the street is just not zoned that way. And I'm not saying that this project doesn't belong there. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that we have to be cognizant that it is in a residential neighborhood.
And I understand that, but we also have a state.
Just raise your hand. We'll get to that. Were you? Okay.
In comment,
Wait,
what Alicia said?
Wait a second, we'll get to that. Everyone needs to be recognized. There'll be time for public comment. This is board comment and question time. We will get to that, I promise. Okay, did you finish?
Yeah, that was just my point.
Okay. It seems like we have to recognize that it's in a residential neighborhood. Moving the driveway, we're working our way through these issues. Moving the driveway was huge. I got a chance to check it out today. It seems like a much better location for the drive. It kind of splits the difference between the abutting properties as opposed to being right up against one, so that's huge. To me, the remaining issues are hours of operation and nighttime lighting. They somewhat go hand in hand. I personally don't want to keep you from having nighttime lighting, but till 9, it's pretty heavy duty. you know, and as far as being obnoxious to the neighbors, you know, I just want to be out front with you. You know, that's the hang up. If you could, you know, if you could reel in the hours of operation, not a lot, you know, a little bit, and that would also reel in the hours of the nighttime lighting. And I was hoping we could get to a resolution tonight, but I really want to see our engineer's response, the lighting engineer's response, you know, from our guy first. And I also want to be sure that the planning board has a level of comfort with it, because they're absolutely more tuned into the, you know, the nuances of lighting and things like that than I am. But you know, you're making progress.
I'd like a little clarification too on the lighting piece of it. And maybe it'll come in his rebuttal to this. Last time we were here, you gave us a sheet in one of your submissions that said when the lights are gonna go on, like as far as darkness comes. I don't know, and maybe I just need to read it again when I look at it. I don't know if the lights are gonna go on at dark or at dusk.
Right.
I know I have kids, and I know when it's dusk, I don't want them out on the street. You know, at least when they were small. At dusk, you can't see. So I don't see how you could be shooting a ball, you know, hitting a ball at dusk and not see. I think the lights would have to be on.
I mean, it's really weather dependent with clouds and getting into a little bit of golf. It's when you see your ball flush, and you know,
Right.
and you know, so every day is different. You know, just like, you know, if it's a terrible night like tonight, you're not going to be open. You know, and that's the thing. You know, it's really limited. You know, and you say 9 o'clock, and you know, I respect that, but it's you know, if we look at where the hours need to be 9 o'clock, it'd be May 1st to September 15th. That small window to 9 o'clock, and it's and I've reined it back even more. It's less than 39 minutes being on a day, and that's the small window that where the business, where you make your money. I mean, the bottom line, that's where the industry, May 1st to September 15th. Now, the other shoulder months, you have to be open to pay your bills and stuff like that, but those, those are the months that you need it. And your target market is the person that, you know, works all day, comes home, has dinner with their family, and then goes out and hits a bucket of balls. Now, you know, you work till 6 o'clock, go home, have dinner. Now it's 7:30. If you closed at 8:30, you're rushing, you know, to give that little bit of leeway in the summertime where it's nice. We all know we stay outside a lot longer in the summer than in the winter. That little window is where, you know, the pro forma for the bank, I really need that 9 o'clock. The other months, I'm willing to work with you to really, you know, need those hours for the neighbors, but that window of those summer months is important.
What are the other driving ranges open till?
They're all open. There's not one range. I did a survey after. There's not one range that closed at 9 o'clock. All of them closed at 10, mostly 11 in Massachusetts. And I consulted a lot of the other ranges, and they said they didn't know one in New England that closed at
Leo J.
That's a golf course.
Oh.
So a freestanding facility. So there's not one, because they have other revenue. They're getting greens fees, where a range you're relying on golf ball sales. So you need that extra half hour, 45 minutes to sell to that guy that's working all day.
Yeah, that'll make it tough, because you know, I look at the lighting is, you know, it's necessary, but you know, 9 o'clock, that's going to make it really difficult as far as my view of it being obnoxious to the neighbors. And I mean, I'm not saying you get a shutdown at 7, but some flexibility.
So what time would work for you?
It's not it's not what works for me. It's kind of
what would make you comfortable? Where I would get your support?
A comfort level, probably 7:30, 8 o'clock. I think it'd be reasonable.
So, if I may, part of the reason that I thought the annual review was beneficial is that we're trying to find the middle zone here with nothing there and no information to go on. You know, if this project goes forward, and we'll say for the first year we set it at 8 o'clock, and we hear from the Carbones that they never see anyone, they never have a problem, and Eric wants to go later, with the Carbone's blessing and the other neighbors, we can say, okay, this year, we'll try it. You can have till 8:30. You know, it gives us, as a community, the flexibility, whereas if we decide something now that says it's 8 or nothing, there's no changing it. So I don't think we're unduly regulating the truck. I think we're giving the town the flexibility to adjust things as are needed. And that's why I was proposing that as an idea, because we haven't had this sort of thing go on in the residential area. We may need to adjust it. And there may be, you know, there are gonna be parameters on both sides. You know, I think we could easily say, we definitely don't want them open till 11 o'clock at night, and we never will, you know, and we're not gonna make them close before the sun goes down. But I think we wanna, I feel that having a range within there makes sense.
When we go down that road, I think we ought to let them open till 9, review it in a year, and if there's problems, cut it back.
I mean, I think our light expert is showing us too that, you know, the trespassing, we made the comment last time, there's nothing more than a night light that the neighbors see, and, I think that's hard to explain. I think, you know, if you've seen it and can see it, you know, a picture's worth 1,000 words. You say, wow, it's not that intrusive, it's not obnoxious. And when you see these ranges, especially the LED lights, and it's technology. I mean, it's unbelievable. They won't see anything.
Any other questions or comments?
Well, just in Eric's defense, as a business person, he has to, when he opens, he's got to say, I'm open until this time. He can't change every night. You know, it's got to be, otherwise people will say, well, I got there and it was closed. Or I got there, that just doesn't work. So we need to be thoughtful about how we're going to approach this in terms of the thing. And Chuck, I think that your idea, 9 o'clock, we're visiting 6 months or a year. Or whatever, I mean, 9 o'clock is the only thing, that's in the summer. We know that in the winter it's entirely different. But maybe that does work, and we revisit it, and he's already indicated he's willing to work with us on it. I think that's reasonable.
I feel 12 hours of operation is reasonable, 8 to 8.
Not in the summer. It doesn't get dark in the summer. Summer's a whole different animal. It's dark later. It's dark at 9:30 sometimes.
June 21st, about 9:30.
Yeah, it's still light up.
So the planning board is stuck on the lighting rate at the moment?
Once the light, well, we do have a couple of other concerns, but we haven't been able to meet as a group to talk about this. But there is in our decision criteria, it indicates that a minimum amount of trees shall be removed, and from any site plan. When we review, we have a site plan review criteria, we've got like 15 items that have to be met. And in fact, rather than me paraphrase it, let me just, so we have design criteria, decision criteria. The planning board shall approve an application for site plan review if it finds that the applicant has submitted sufficient information from which it can determine that the proposed project will minimize the volume of cut and fill, we're not sure about that, minimize the number of removed trees 6-inch caliber or larger. We were told last week that the total number of trees 6-inch caliber or larger over the 11 acres that they're going to be building is somewhere in the vicinity of 800 trees. That's a lot of trees, and that's not what I call minimizing. So it doesn't mean you can't. I'm just saying we need to talk about that, as we do with anybody who proposes something. That's why I think that we can talk to you about these residential concepts, because I think that those are the things that, in other words, you want something here. You would need a variance of sorts. George, what do you call this?
Waiver.
A waiver. So in order for us to give you a waiver on that, we need to talk about what's going to happen in order for us to give you the waiver. So I'm not going to go through all of them, but that's one. Those, we will do that. We'll go through each one of these and say, well, where do they hit it and where do they not hit it? And where they do not hit it, what does that mean for the project? So that's, and we'll do that hopefully at the next meeting, because we should have the information from our lighting consultant that should give us direction in a sense of where we should be. And then we can go through the decision criteria and see where we ought to be with the project.
I'm not sure why this wasn't brought up before. I don't get it. I mean, it seems like every time we have a meeting, we bring up one more thing. Oh, well, this has to be done by next meeting.
I brought this up at the first meeting.
Okay.
First meeting.
Sorry, I did not focus in on that.
Yeah, I brought up
Okay.
trees at the first meeting.
If we could get a comprehensive plan for Eric so that he could come back next meeting and we have a vote. I mean, it's costing him money every time he steps in.
I agree.
So
No,
I'm very concerned for him. I'm concerned we're gonna drive him out.
Yeah, so, just in a nutshell, it's, I mean, an hour of operation or something, it would be a stinker if it kept you from doing this, you know? It's, you're really making progress here, it's within reach.
So let me ask you a question. For the selectmen, you're voting on the usage, correct?
No, this is, my only view of this issue is being obnoxious to the neighbor.
No, but I'm just trying to clarify, planning board versus selectmen, just as a whole. You guys are
Ginny,
voting on usage.
Why don't you answer it?
The criteria of the special permit that the board has to vote on include them having to arrive at findings such as it's not injurious or obnoxious to abutting properties and it's in the best interest of the town, et cetera. They're all laid out in the bylaw, whereas the planning board's criteria are laid out in, you know, in their bylaw under site plan review. So two separate determinations based on a lot of the same information. But, you know, one of the members of the Board of Selectmen might also have concerns about trees being cut. I don't know, but yeah.
So going back, JR, you're talking about an hour. You're down to it for your concern?
An hour and basically hearing from the lighting consultant for a comfort level, and I mean, just speaking from my own skill set, you know, I kind of lean on the planning boards for technicalities like we're going into with the lighting here. So, but I think they kind of go hand in hand. I see the light, I see why you need the lighting.
I mean, you need the light for the performer, for the business, for the bank. I mean, that hour is, you know, it's a huge thing. I mean, we're talking about 7 hours a week for, you know, 4 months. You know, we do the math, it's not that many hours, but from a business standpoint.
It's not so, to me, it's not how many hours they're on, it's the hour of the night they go until.
Okay. So, you know, in the summer, you know, I mean, we can talk about it till we're red in the face, but, you know, is it the lights more than the hours of operation, or is it both?
I'd say it's both, because like we have a lot of business on Route 1, and I mean, I don't think any of them are open until 9. And that's a commercial district. I mean, it would be a lot easier if it wasn't an ag-res district and you didn't need a special permit. It'd be, you know, it'd be easy to green light everything you want to do. But it's because of where it is, and this is the process we have in town. It was laid out before I ever got here, and where you're trying to do it. And, I mean, this is the process we have to work with. And, you know, that's the place you're trying to put it. And, you know, I think there's a way you can. We just need to keep making progress. Again, like the drive, moving the drive, that's huge. That's, you know, that, you know, satisfies my concerns about that. And basically, these are my remaining concerns. My concerns aren't so much about you having lights on or off. It's basically, right.
And is your concern, as we talked about in the first one, the noise? Do you think it's going to be noisy, or do you think it's going to be destructive? you know, the neighbors, what is, I guess I'm trying to find out what your
It's, well,
concern is. Because golf is typically quiet.
It's kind of a squishy concern. Is it obnoxious or injurious to the neighbors? I try to put myself in their place. The lights are on next door, stadium lights, till 9 o'clock at night, 7 days a week during the summer. I would feel that's obnoxious if I lived there. And that's how I'm trying to view this. Is it injurious or obnoxious to the neighbors? 9 o'clock is, like I said, that's a pretty late hour, you know? If 8, it would give the people around there still chance to have a campfire. If they have small children, you know, it's the atmosphere everyone's known, it's the atmosphere that people bought into while they were there. And it's an ag residential zone, and, you know, with this process, we have to be sensitive to that. That's why we have this process. So, you know, I'm trying to work with you.
Oh, I understand, I appreciate it.
So I think what Ginny said and what JR is saying is that when we go to vote on this, there's gonna be criteria that we're gonna go down, and we have to look at each one of those in that bylaw, and we have to ask ourselves, is this gonna be also injurious and obnoxious? And we have to decide, yes or no. And anything you can do to mitigate that, I think it's in your best interest to try to mitigate that. Now, does that mean you have to go up and can guess? I mean,
I'd love to hear from each board member. We're at
I
the
think
point.
that's only fair, honestly.
I mean, I think we're at the point, we've had so many meetings, if we can hear from each board member what their concerns are, so I have a chance to address them, instead of, you know, I feel like I'm getting new things every meeting, even though, you know, it may not be, but it kind of, hey, do this, it's been dragged out a little bit.
Yeah, I can't speak for another board, but I know for myself,
You've been clear up front,
Yeah,
absolutely.
those are
Absolutely.
my big 3.
And I appreciate that, you know, and, you know, if there is any other concerns, so we can address them and come back, and, you know, if we're not gonna get a vote tonight, that we,
Yeah,
you know.
everyone's interested in doing this in a timely manner,
Right.
that I'm sure of.
Yeah, and I mean, we're going into the winter, I'm not getting construction done this year.
Do you want me to review the bylaw? Do you have an understanding of it?
I understand the bylaw, but I guess the individual concerns of the board. You've been great, yours is clear, you know, and most people have, but if there's any other ones that we could bring out tonight. to
Well,
address.
I'll, from the planning board's point of view, I'll tell you mine, and then I'll ask board members if they'd like to add any others. But the 2 most important have been consistently the lighting and the entryway. And so I think that we're moving towards those, from my point of view. George, do you?
Yeah, I think 9 o'clock is a good time for lights to go off. I think 8 o'clock is untenable. You can't run a business going on at 8 o'clock. I know that, you know that. I think it'd be a very hard thing to push.
Jim?
I'm with George. I agree. For this business to be viable and shutting down before 9, I just don't see how you can make it work. I think we can work on the lighting to try to make it less, obnoxious, if that's the right word, make it, less of a problem for the neighbors by, using technology. But the hours, I can live with the hours you suggested.
Peter?
I think I would comment the same as Jim. It's the lighting. That's the biggest key. Making
Could
that
you
work
speak
is
up
the
a
key.
little bit? All of you were speaking quite low.
We're so demure.
You try to be
Yeah, well.
But I think the lighting is the biggest issue. If we can get over that hurdle with the change in driveway location, I think that's very impressive.
I'm also comfortable with the hours of operation as proposed and agree with my comments about the lighting. But I think we're getting there, and I appreciate John's comments earlier to Musco about working with our consultant about having a uniform plan, and I think understanding that this is a residential area and trying to keep the lighting in keeping with that type of environment. And if we can do that, I'm more than comfortable with the hours of operation.
Okay, any more questions from either board, comments? Okay, I'm going to open to the public for comment. I just want to say, raise your hand, come up to the front, state your name, where you live in town, and just try not to be repetitive. If it's something you've said at a meeting before, try to refrain, because we're trying to hone down and find an end to this thing. So Bernie was first. If you want to come up, if you have anything to say.
I'm good.
Okay. Would anyone else like to speak? Jean?
Hi, Janine Cunningham, 143 Scotland Road. I will be surrounded 3 sides of this property. And now the driveway is coming towards me. I have very little concern that Eric won't do something to help with the lighting. And I appreciate your comments, Chuck, because Salter's lights are very intrusive. And I had to put room darkening shades because it shines in my bedroom every single night. And it's on all the time, you know? And not to be disrespectful, I love you, JR, but your new lighting lights up all of Scotland Road, that whole area now. I understand why you had to do it, but that lighting is very intrusive, you know, around the building.
I have 460-watt floodlights.
I know, I'm
It's
just
less
saying.
than your average home.
I'm just saying, it lights up the whole street, just like the Salter area does too. So, but I really feel comfortable knowing that I believe he'll come and talk to me about making sure that my line is covered with trees, and I think with the cut down, the lighting probably won't be that bad. So I'm not worried about lighting. And on a summer night, I'm not going to bed at 9 o'clock. Nobody is. So I'm just saying, I think the hours are good. So.
Okay. Anyone else?
Hi, mate.
Frank.
Frank Bertolino, Maple Terrace, Newbury. For full disclosure, I'm the listing agent for the property, but I'm also a resident of Newbury. As far as the lighting goes, Mr. Sorensen is doing his very best, and he's hired the best of the industry to design the lighting program. Far more cooperation than maybe a developer would be, who's going to run one or two streets up through there with regular streetlights that shine every which direction. I think he's been more than cooperative to help us as residents. Hours of operation, understood. I'm a golfer, and I work late hours, as you see. It's be wonderful to get out there and hit some balls up until 9 o'clock at night. I usually go to bed about 9:30. But during the summer, the warmer months, May through September, October. So I think the hours of operation, I think, are going to work with the request, what he's requesting, are going to make it so it's a viable business, and I appreciate the planning board's responses with that. Off season, it can be adjusted accordingly, is the way I feel. I also appreciate how my boards have worked diligently to protect the residents of Newbury. I think that's huge. I appreciate that very much. And I hope that we can continue on and to continue to attract viable businesses to our town. Thank you.
Okay. Would anyone else like to comment? Dale.
Dale Williams, Scotland Heights. I'm a nearby neighbor, not in a butter. I feel like I've been to 4 of these now, and it's a giant obstacle course, and every week another obstacle is added at the end. I feel like I'm in boot camp, and I'm just at the end of the obstacle course, and another one is thrown up there. And I appreciate you guys and your hard work and talking about trees, but this is a driving range. They need to clear trees. I mean, when I play golf, I'm in the trees, but I'm not trees. I appreciate Chuck's comments about maybe we need to throw a lifeline. It's the old carrot and stick. It seems like there's more stick than carrot. This guy wants to bring a business to this town which will benefit the entire residents of the town and the local towns around. Finally, the term obnoxious and injurious, I don't think the lighting on till 9 o'clock on some summer nights raises the level to obnoxious and injurious to a neighbor. And finally, one more point about Damon's point about, well, let's review it. Let's start at 8 and we'll ask the neighbors if it's okay. I don't think you can issue a special permit and allow 2 or 3 abutters to determine down the road whether it goes up or down. I just don't think that's a good policy. And finally, they've made every attempt to jump through hoops, make modifications, and I've lived through the last 3 weeks of Colby Farm and looked at the progress they've made in making the traffic issue there workable. And every day that goes by, it's more workable. You're asking Eric to set up a plan here in a business that's going to be golden from day one. There's going to be issues come up. I don't think driveway and traffic is one of them. But I appreciate what Colby Farm has done with the local police in making that situation more bearable every day. Because I'm impacted. I can't even get back from church on a Sunday morning. And I appreciate what that's brought to this town.
It's probably a topic better left for citizens' concerns. This is about a golf center application.
Well, it's about traffic, it's about exit and entrance, it's about sight lines, it's all about that.
Right.
And I appreciate, and guess what? The Sunflower Fields have brought business to this town. What do you think this golf center is going to be? It's going to be a positive for the town. So thanks for listening.
Okay, Deb?
Deb Carboni, 123 Spartan Road. I am not opposed to Eric's business, as you all know. I think it's great. The town needs it. I know there's all golfers here. Not one Newbury resident has come up on my side to say that it is injurious to me. Come to my property. Come to my property. I have to deal with 8 in the morning till 9 at night. The cars, the lighting, the golf balls, the people. Everybody here is in favor. I am not opposing to that, but come to see it is injurious to my daily living. End of story.
Wilma.
Wilma Buckley, 159 Scotland Road. I'll try not to be repetitive of things I've said before. November 11th, 1974, my husband and I broke ground for our brand new home. February 1st, they blasted and hit my house and damaged my foundation. Their lights are on 24/7. That was not commercial when I built that house. Give the man a chance. We need businesses to come to town and help with our tax base. And all he's trying to do is provide for the town of Newbury, Triton Regional, and all golfers. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to comment?
Just have a quick comment.
Yeah, come on up.
Val Murphy, 8 Scotland Heights. Speaking that way about with salt or whatever, it sounds like everybody's still pretty unhappy that that's there. This is how many years later? So you can't say, you know, you're still pretty miserable about it, and I think people are still really unhappy that the lights are there. It has changed the character of the street. So I think you got to think about long term. I mean, I understand it's a nice facility or whatever, but it isn't. It's residential, and
it's not. It's commercial.
Right, but you wish there wasn't, I'm sure. Like you doesn't sound like
it was residential.
Wilma, she has the floor. If you'd
So
like to
that's
speak, you can now.
just my thought. And you know, us up on Scotland Heights, if that was in our backyard, we wouldn't be too happy. At least I wouldn't. I for sure would. And you know, I think you're doing a good job trying to make amends and trying to make work. The loss of trees makes me sick. I just think, oh my God, you know, and what if it doesn't? What if it doesn't stay? What if, as many golfing ranges don't have a history of staying long? Then we have cleared out all those trees, and what's going to be there? Nothing. You know, so that's just my kind of thought.
I already said my name, I won't say it again. I grew up on Scotland Road. I am 7 years old, and 61 of those years has been spent on Scotland Road. I built a house in a residential area. I bought land off my dad, Richard N. Cunningham, that's the trust. I had no control over that Commonwealth of Massachusetts when they put that state bid in there. They run those trucks 24/7 in the wintertime, and the lights are 24/7 year round. don't tell me that it's a residential area. Because it isn't anymore. The town allowed the state to come in, the town allowed John Salter to build his bus depot. The town allowed the state police barracks. What happened to residential on Scotland Road? The gateway to Scotland Road. It's not a gateway anymore, and it hasn't been since 1975, when they blasted a ledge across the street from my house and damaged it.
Would anyone else like to comment?
Just have one question I didn't ask. Dale Williams, Solid Heights. I'm just curious the tabulation of how many pro comments and emails you've received versus how many negative, and how many are in-town residents, how many are out-of-town residents, how many are butters, and how many aren't butters.
To get that tabulation until now, we would have to review it, because I don't know if we have a total list, do we? These are just recent?
I didn't think to make a total list, but I have the list for each meeting.
Yeah. To be read into the record, this time is 12 Newbury residents in support, 18 non-residents in support, and 1 resident in opposition. But that's for today's meeting.
Right,
I
received.
don't have it all
Since the last meeting.
Right.
in front of me to add them all up.
Helen said she's willing to do that for our next meeting.
So it's 30-1, give or take?
You gotta come up, sorry. These
Rich-
pesky rules.
Yeah, Rich Herman, Haight Street, so I appreciate everyone's input on all the boards and obviously our neighbors. I have a question for the lighting folks. I'm a golfer. If I'm hitting into the dark, I need some light. If it's dusk, it's sort of an iffy thing. On a slow night like tonight, where we're, at 7 o'clock, 7:30, it's foggy out. Can you turn off half the lights? If you've got 30, how many structures, 30 structures, 36 structures, can you shut off 12? I mean, to be a more green business, save on your overhead and appease the neighbors? Okay?
Part of my response was that we can customize it so that we can set up zones where you can shut off some of the lights, but it is all remotely capable.
And obviously, if 2 or 3 guys or 2 or 3 gals come up to hit some balls, can you flick them on easy enough?
And we do that over dimming,
Okay.
because you have set light levels that are required for golf, so you wouldn't want to dim it, but you could reduce the number of poles, reduce.
No brainer. As far as the 9 o'clock hour, first of all, personally, I'm just waking up at 9 o'clock, so I'm okay with 9 o'clock. I'm starting to peak right now. But I've coached, I think, 16 or 18 Little League teams in this town, Triton for 2 boys. And from April 15th until July 5th, give or take on playoffs, I'm out there with 25, 30 kids and 40 parents at all the fields until 8:15, 8:20, 8:30 at night. I'm not even coaching soccer or lacrosse, which is a whole nother season of sports and noise. And has everyone here been to a golf driving range before? No. This is what it sounds like. If even, less than that. It's not, there are businesses in town and around town open well past 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. The pub at Old Newbury is open. If you're at Old Town Country Club, there's parties out there and alcohol in the neighborhood. If you're driving down, where else is, Rusty Can is open till 9, 10 o'clock or even later serving alcohol. So there are businesses in town. And this morning, the previous time I was up here, my first time I spoke about my passion for golf, and great that I don't have to drive 40 minutes to hit a few golf balls. I can bring my sons out to do it. And then I truly felt, not intentionally, but I felt like the obstacle course kept getting obstacles. At first it was ice cream, you bring in some kind of ice cream, and tonight it's the industrial poles, and I think they're all good objections and the stumps that the business investor has to overcome to a certain degree. But this morning, I decided to sit down and write out some checks. I had to pay some bills this morning. I had to do everything online. And I had 3 bills this morning that sort of pissed me off as a Newbury resident. I love our low taxes. I think we do a very good job. I had to cut my annual check to Mello for my trash removal, $340. I had to cut a check to Triton Middle School for my 7th grade baseball son who's on the baseball team, $250. I had to cut another check for my 7th grader who's playing his trumpet for another $100. So before I even had my second cup of coffee, I paid $700 this morning. And I had to cut off a 3:30 conference call to pick my son up because the late bus isn't there for after-school sports. We need some kind of revenue stream in town. 100 here, 500 here, it starts to add up to real money. And, you know, if he's doing some sort of shoddy, crappy job in his business, I think he'll come in and put some friendly handcuffs on him and say, fix your problem. That's all I have to say.
Anyone else? Bernie, come on up.
29 Central Street, Byfield, Mass. First meeting I sat in on this adjustment of Eric going forward with the golf course on Woodbury. For one, I'm very disappointed sitting back, looking at the town, because it seems like every time he's coming to address it, there's something new coming up. He either missed it or something new being addressed. And my concern is, I bought property in '05. It was residential agriculture in Byfield on Central Street. And at that time, there was no fire department across the street from my house, and there was no businesses on either side. Now, somehow, in that time frame, my house became commercial property. I was not notified that my house was being, I never received a letter. Now, all of a sudden, one day, my property is commercial. Now, that sounds great in some people's, now I can run a business. Well, guess what? I have a house, a residential house, on a commercial property. Now, I was very fortunate enough to find a bank to work with me to finance it. Now, I'm trying to refinance, and I cannot because I'm commercial. I don't quite understand how the town works with, on Scotland Road, you got a commercial piece of property across the street, you have Salter, State Police, the Highway Department, and then residential agriculture, the whole zoning. And it's probably my fault for not paying attention, not coming enough to town meetings, where it just seems like here is a guy trying to bring business to town, and you're giving him a harder time when there already are businesses in town. There are already commercial. He's going through his residential agriculture. And I understand the lighting, there's a concern about the lighting, and it seems like he's very flexible there. So it'd be nice to see everything get addressed, to put forward to Eric, so we can find a solution to this. If it's business, you think hours of operation, 8 o'clock in the summertime, the sun doesn't set till 8:30. So technically, you can still drive golf balls at 8:30 at night, and he doesn't even have to turn his lights on. So to limit him, telling him he can only run his business till 8 o'clock or 7:30 on a June day, he's not even gonna have to turn on his lights. I can understand in the winter, when it's dark at 4 o'clock, yeah, we don't wanna look. I drive down Scotland Road all the time. Do I wanna drive by and see these huge LED lights blinding everything and changing Scotland Road? No, but I think we gotta meet somewhere in the middle and compromise. And if it's later hours in the summer, earlier hours in the winter, honestly, who's gonna wanna be driving a ball 0 degrees out on December 31st? He's not gonna wanna keep his lights on and pay hundreds of dollars. So I think he's gonna be able to compromise. So we at least give the man a chance to get in there, give him some stipulations, some guidelines, give him 9 o'clock in the summertime. Okay, 7:30 in the winter, I can understand that. But this town needs to, it just seems like it needs to be a little more organized when everybody get together, because he's been here many a times with lawyers and engineers, and it's not the first plan board. It shouldn't have to take 8 months to get something done in this town. You should be able to get something done in a month or 2, 6 tops. How long is this gonna take?
Thank you for your comments, Bernie. I think 100% of people that have gone through the special permit process, find frustration at some point. But that's why it's a process, like exactly for you to like you were saying, to whittle down to the points. So I wish it could be we could expedite it more at times. Absolutely. I was hoping, sort of hoping we'd come closer to a resolution tonight. But, it's there's no effort here to stifle business in this town and block people out. I mean, Eric's a young businessman. I think everyone at the table up here respects that and how much he has invested in it, and, you know, how important this is to you guys. And, you know, it is finding a compromise and finding a, you know, a middle ground, and I think we're making progress on it. And, you know, can it be frustrating at times? Yes, but I think that's what everyone's trying to work toward. Yes, Frank.
Frank Bertolino, Maple Terrace. May I ask just a few questions? I don't know why I didn't think of this before, but is Manta Field, is that a residential zone area?
That's a good question.
Yes.
It is. Are there lights at Manta Field?
No.
There are no lights in Manta Field?
There is in this concept.
They bring in portable.
They bring in portable lights when there's the concerts? I think, do they stay on?
When they're playing too, like fields being used by the kids.
Well, I thought there were lights when the kids were playing sports there.
There actually
Yes.
is.
They are on wheels.
That's some
Yeah,
temporary lights.
I thought they were.
Generated.
They're generated lights. Are they on late at night or at 9 o'clock? Do they practice that late?
Yeah.
Yeah, but they bring them up to the field when they're playing.
Right.
What is the latest you rent the field to?
Honestly, I don't know that answer.
I can't hear you.
I said, honestly, I don't know the answer as to when, how late they have them.
For practice, and that's for games of practice. But that does happen there, from what I understand. So I think I'm asking the board and begging the board to take that into consideration as well. But thank you very much.
Thanks, Frank. Okay. Any other comments? Okay. John, any? You guys?
We're all set. We're waiting for our consultant to read the report.
Okay.
Can I say a couple things? Just,
Sure.
You know, as this process is going forward, can we just outline, you know, obviously, we have the usage and planning, can we outline kind of where, you know, next meeting we come to a resolution, you know, I'm not gonna go forward with the engineering plans unless I get some kind of conditional approval.
Right.
You know, for usage, and then I can go forward with that. So, you know, if we come to some agreement next meeting, am I gonna get a vote for usage, or will it go to a vote?
I hope so.
I mean, you got Mike's coming an hour and a half. You know, every
I know.
week.
I think that's everyone's hope.
Right.
I don't know. I can only speak to myself. I think, you know, I think myself as a selectman, I think we get, you know, we're to that point. Like I said, I was hoping we were to that point tonight, but there's.
Same here.
I mean, so you're really waiting on the comments from the peer review?
Yes. Has everybody reviewed the comments and the responses?
Yes. I have. I have, but I'm waiting for, but I haven't talked to the consultant or heard his
Does
comments.
he come into the next meeting, the consultant?
I don't know that we've had, I don't know that.
We haven't set the next meeting yet.
Well, I mean, are we gonna, I figured we would have him here tonight, that's why I got
I mean, we can certainly ask him.
I mean, it doesn't have, I just was wondering.
Well, here's, my perspective is I'd like to get his report. If we think the report is insufficient, then we'd have him come to the meeting. But if the report is clear and we accept it, then he doesn't need to come to the meeting.
Can you talk a little bit about that consultant and just his experience with sports lighting, golf in particular, and what other town reviews
Well,
have done?
I think Martha has been more engaged with him than I have, so.
Right, and it was, he came very highly recommended from some landscape architects, somebody who's very knowledgeable about, you know, a whole range of exterior, including, you know, athletic lighting and exterior lighting.
So you don't know what he's done though? If he's done
I
any
don't
projects?
have
Well, we do, and you can check his website.
I did, and there wasn't anything. I checked. For sports, for golf and sports, you know, Mike in his career has done over 300 sports fields, 50 this year. You know, they're the #1 sports lighting in the country. They have a team of engineers. I mean, and I'm not putting the peer review guy down, just, you know, we're dealing with, you know, the Apple computer.
Again, it gets to our concern that you're designing the lighting as a sports field. We're concerned that it's a residential district.
Understandable.
And so having someone who has that sensitivity is something we wanted to have. We didn't want to hire an industrial lighting expert. You have that. We wanted to hire somebody who had a different approach and what we thought would have the town's interest in mind. Okay?
His recommendation was for an industrial looking pole. It's in his recommendations. So that's why my reference was, it's industrial looking, it's a square pole, just like what you have up there. It's a typical parking lot pole that goes up the pathway. Is it an ornamental pole with a decorative fixture? No, but it's a shoebox, it's straight down. We showed what the spill is off the back, off the front, and it is directional. We've shown that there's zero impact to the abutters. To the neighbor that is the biggest concern, we have showed that we have zero impact to that abutter. I don't know what else we can present. I mean, I've addressed the temperature rating. You went to Leo J. Martin. None of the comments were, wow, that's a very white light. Yeah, sure. None of the comments were that was a very white light. It was, you know, how is it directed? Is it glary? Do I see it? If we go with a cooler temperature, this is definitely not a 3000. It would be a yellow light. You wouldn't see crisp, clear colors. Outside is probably close to 5700 if I had to guess, looking at it from the ground. If we have to go with a lower temperature, that means more fixtures. You get less efficiency, so you have to do more fixtures. And I know as we presented number of poles, number of fixtures numerous times. We shorten poles, we change uniformity. Some of the recommendations that are in there, you want to smooth out uniformities on the driving range, you got to go up taller so you can smooth it out. Shorter poles mean you've got brighter areas in front of the poles. So the 25-foot poles that we're using up the driveway, it's so that we can space them out so we don't have a lot of poles and we're doing one fixture on each pole. So we're trying to efficiently light it, but still not light it like an industrial park. So we're looking at all those different ways to do that, already addressing a lot of those recommendations. Some of them don't really apply to sports lighting. If you have an anvil fixture, you don't have a bug rating, because every fixture is going to be aimed differently depending on where it's aimed at in that driving range. The parking lot poles, the pathway lighting, absolutely. It's straight down. We provided the bug rating because that is non-anvil. It's straight down. That's the shoebox type fixture. We provided the cut sheets. That's what he was recommending. That's what we provided. But we kept the color temperature the same so that it didn't look yellow and dulled out. And then when you get up there, it looks like brighter because as an athlete, you're playing golf and you want to see where your ball is. So it's a wider light. And again, that helps with the efficiency so that we can use less fixtures. So that's a lot of what the response was. The controls we talked about, we have controls where you can dim it, you could shut off, you could figure out which way he wants to. If he wants to shut off every other pole by changing a zone, we can do that. So we were trying to accommodate a lot of the recommendations and the requests, and we've shown that the impact to the Carbonis is zero. I understand it's still the perception of a driving range in the residential area, and we can't change that in terms of what we're trying to do.
There's also no doubt that moving the driveway, a substantial difference, is a major positive for the Carbonis.
You know, we were showing that we weren't spilling any light even into their property where it was. Moving on that side, it's, yeah, even taking that source of light further away from there.
So I don't know about the fixtures that now would be up the new driveway, but that's what I'm saying. Let's work it out with ourselves, and the lighting consultant will come up with something.
And moving the driveway was more than just about lighting. It was about traffic.
Right.
Being so close to
their entryway.
a resident.
But it does have a practical effect of moving the lighting too.
Mm-hmm.
So let's take that into account.
It's a
Janine.
Janine Cunningham, 143 Scotland Road. By moving it, you've created another traffic problem because now you're closer to the buses coming in and out. And they operate 12 months of the year as well. So you've got to take that in mind. You might have a residential driveway, but now you've got a commercial driveway that you're going to be dealing with. Not to say my driveway as well. So.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Hi, Chris Mosier, 1 Rolfs Lane in Newbury. And I just wanted to empathize with the lady over here about you know, lighting, traffic, and noise, because I'm on Rolfs Lane. So if you have insomnia, you can look out. I get a red light, a green light, sodium vapor, and noise. And I know what that's like. I'm a light sleeper, so I can appreciate having, stuff going on right next to you. Especially now that I had a tree cut down by National Grid. Actually, I had 4 trees cut down. So I really empathize with the abutters. I also empathize with this young businessman because I run a business in Newburyport, right when you come in on Scotland Road, right on Parker Street. And I'm about to buy another business. And I don't think many people can really understand the stress that somebody goes through with buying a business, talking to a bank, and things like that. And so I empathize with what this guy's going through. So I think it's important that he's allowed to stay open until late. And I think, him addressing the lighting, like that he's described here, I think is impressive. I've been following it lightly a little bit because I've thought about moving a business into Newbury. So I've been paying. He's looking for a tax break. It's given me pause. So, I can understand it. I'm also a terrible golfer, as somebody here would probably attest to, so I would love to go to the range and do it. But, as an abutter to lighting and noise and stuff like that, to have somebody that's willing to address it, I think is really important, and I think that that's great. And wish you luck with your business.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, seeing no more comments,
we're not going to close the public hearing, but we still have information that's coming in, so we'll continue it, and we have to come up with a date.
Before that, Mr. Chairman, may I read the comments?
Yes.
In support, we've received, correspondence received since 09/06/17, continuation for the joint public hearing open 6/27/17 in support and in opposition to Scotland Road proposed golf facility of Eric Sorensen. Newbury residents in support, Peter and Mary Leary, Arlene Shea, Cadence Erickson, Linda McCamick, William DeFrancesco, Mary Mike Zerigan, Linda Ralph, Dale and Robin Williams, Robin Lawson, Donna Osborne, Sherilyn Kelly. Non-residents in support, George Dodier from Amesbury, Andrea Wetman Newburyport, Ben Wetman Newburyport, Emily Hoffman Newburyport, Bethany Kaufman Newburyport, Jessalyn Sullivan Newburyport, Louise Healy, former resident, Amy Dickinson Rowley, Dottie Bragdon, Exeter, New Hampshire, Patricia Gannon, New Hampshire, Billy and Lynn Babcock Newburyport, Robert and Nancy Griffin Newburyport, Judy Burke Newburyport, Kathleen Shoemaker Newburyport, Sandy Pilt Newburyport, Bonnie Johnson Newburyport, Karen Lamanuzzi Newburyport, Glenn Ward Whitman, Mass. In opposition, Lynette Lika, Newbury resident. Thank you.
okay. So it looks like we're going to need to continue. Is there a date that works so we can be sure to have everyone present?
How much time do we need?
So are we just waiting on the review? And
Yeah.
for me to have a conversation with him?
Send it to Martha. As soon as Martha gets it, she'll share it with our members and with you.
So we want to set up some kind of call. You want me to have a meeting with this lighting review?
I think that'd be worthwhile.
Set up a conference call?
Conversation, I mean, but why don't we get it, I don't know if we can set it, I don't know if he's done. So as soon as Martha hears, she'll call you and try to set something up.
Is this something we could?
Sorry, does it make sense maybe to have that conversation before we get his response? Because based on some of the things that were said, I wonder if maybe there's some education that could occur in terms of some of the light fixtures and other things. Just an idea. I mean,
Sure.
maybe more than one conversation.
Well, you can do it tomorrow or Thursday. Well, tomorrow, if he's available, okay?
Yeah.
And we can do that just on the phone. It may be better if we can get him in here, but we can do a conference call. All right, so we'll try to set
I'm
that up.
available tomorrow, or
And
Thursday,
so,
we're gonna meet in person.
so just be in contact with, give Martha a call in the morning and see if she can
Is this
successfully get
something you
in.
can sit in, or no, because it's a public hearing?
Oh, I can sit in on
Okay.
it, right? Yeah, can't have three of us.
But you can sit in. Are you available tomorrow or Thursday?
At, in the morning, but not in the afternoon, tomorrow. But I'll contact Martha
Okay.
with times and stuff.
Okay, I'm available, so if we can do it, that'd be great.
Yep.
Okay, let's set a date for the next meeting.
We already have a meeting scheduled on the 26th. Is that going to be too soon?
No, that's been canceled.
Oh.
You're
Oh,
meeting
good.
on the 3rd.
Okay. Until the 3rd.
We actually have a conflict on that day. Would the 10th be available? I know that that's a week after that, or the 4th?
The 10th is available, it's a scheduled meeting.
Well, we should certainly be able to get it cleared up.
Yeah, why don't we
planning-wise
say,
by the
that sounds
10th.
good, that's like 3 weeks from now, right?
Yes.
Aim for the 10th.
Seven? 7:15, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
7:15.
Hey, John, Mike's not available, but he'll be available for the conference call if we need him. So he
Okay.
won't be available.
Sure.
Okay, so hopefully we can clear up anything
Okay.
prior to that, and he's coming an hour and a half soon, so.
Yep.
Thank you.
Understandable.
Sure.
Okay,
Does it have Mike's contact information?
Do you want to move to the in-person and move to the
Sure. George, I need a motion to
motion
move
to continue the hearing, public hearing,
to the
until 7:15, public
October the 10th. Second. All those in favor? Done. Okay.
I move that we continue the public hearing until October 10th at 7:15.
Second.
all those in favor? Aye. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming tonight.
Thank you.
moving, yeah, I told him. I'm sure he told it in my opinion.
I almost got hit too. Yeah, no, that was bad.
Not worth it.
And you can't even go home.
Give the voters a chance to say. Oh.
Okay.
So ask Ginny, can we vote on that? Maybe she can put it out to the.
No, we can vote. We can vote.
No, I know, but we can't, we don't need to put it out till we have a full vote?
I don't think so.
No,
It's not
it's like-
an installed project. Well, that's what I'm afraid of. Okay, are we ready to bring it up again, the award of the police and fire sewer service connection?
Why not?
Okay. So, all right, is there a motion?
I move that we award the contract to the lowest bidder.
Second. Discussion.
You weren't here for the discussion earlier, so I'll say it again. I think that the second lowest bidder has already performed the work, came in under budget and early, and I think Mary has a history with the town of being a good performance. I think we should go with the second lowest bidder.
I'm going to reiterate what I said earlier, just for the sake of repeating it. You know, I feel like I'd be being punitive to not award the contract to the lowest bidder. I believe in redemption, and that I think further actions against is, I feel like I was being punitive.
Yeah, I don't see it as that. I don't see it as going against anyone. What was it, Tracy, can you tell me the prices again? What were the amounts?
All of them, or just the two low?
I guess the two low.
The two low bidders were, the low bidder was Mantor Company, Inc. for $130,509. And the second low bidder was Joseph P. Cardillo and Son, Inc. at $159,876.08. $29,000.
What was the highest bid?
The highest bid was $244,025.
It's funny that they calculate it down to the cent. As I wasn't here during the earlier discussion, I'll say again, I feel rather similarly to JR. The bid came in lowest. I feel like that may have been an effort on the company's part to show good faith to the town, and I see no reason not to award the contract, but I do understand the hesitations that other board members feel.
Would you like to say anything before we vote, Chuck?
We need to award this contract. And I think what you guys are saying has got some pretty good merit. Actually, what Alicia says has got some pretty good merit. It's going to be a very, very tough decision here, but yeah, I'm ready to vote.
Okay, motion on the floor is to award the contract to the low bidder. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Me.
Okay. Do we have correspondence? Okay. Warrants?
Yes.
Motion to sign warrants?
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any meeting updates? We already covered that. No executive session seen. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.